Hello everyone, it's Joseph from your boy Jet Black the One Only here with another exciting live stream. Today I'm going to be talking about my day-to-day, August 25th, 2019. Today I went down to my mom's, played some Mortal Kombat XL, and then pretty much came back here, exercised, showered, messaged with Beth for a little bit, and started up the stream. Really haven't done a lot today. I have been working on the third story of Superpower Battles Volume number 7, so I am pretty hyped about that. I enjoy excuse me, I enjoyed talking with my friend Ernest about the different news sources that I use and stories for my superhero stories. So that was cool. That's probably like one of the highlight conversations I've had today. Yo, Godzilla, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Um, let's see. Then Ryan said, salutations, fellow travelers. Yo, Ryan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. Yo, Ryan, I looked at the video that you sent me. The video that was like all cartoons are political or whatever. Um, the video wasn't bad, and I liked the comparisons that were made, like the different cartoons to different political philosophy kind of thing that was gone over during the video. Um, I wouldn't say all cartoons are political, because if you go like episode by episode basis, I don't think it's a thing where it's like, if you look at every episode of SpongeBob, all of them have this deeper political meaning, but like some do. You know what I mean? Uh, I think it varies. Let's see. Godzilla said, "Did you like what I posted on Amino? I haven't checked Amino in a hot minute, but I definitely can check Amino. It's just been a while." Kel said, "Hey, I came up with another poker game power, and I want to know your opinion on it because it's a bit different." Okay, hit me up, Kels. Also, Kels, welcome. It's good to have you. And Matt, I see you just popped in. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? But yeah, feel free to hit me up, Kels. Tell me what you got. Then Ryan said, Jet, read the title of the video again. Read the title of the video again. Do 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 do. Well, I wish I could. So, the way that YouTube is doing stuff now, which I absolutely despise, is that they're changing the way that creators look at YouTube. So the link that I'm currently at is a YouTube link, but to see the live chat, I'm technically not on real YouTube. So if I was on real YouTube, I could just go up to the top, look at like my message notifications, and then see where you shared the video, and then look at the title. But no, it replaces my top bar with, when you're finished using this feature, click return to YouTube Studio. And it's like, why would I want less functionality on the page? I don't know why they're making it worse. But anyways, Matt said, Jet, you were doing so well. Now you are horribly late. I'm like 5 minutes late, I think. 5 to 4 minutes late. Not saying that it's good to be any amount late, but it's definitely not what I'm going for. Let's see. And then Matt said, no, no, no. Then Godzilla said, yeah, it's my character. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll need to pull up that amino at some point. Take a look at that. Then Matt said, wait, Ryan isn't Jet anymore? I didn't know how that was gonna sound until I said it out of my mouth. The way Matt meant to say that is, wait, Ryan isn't Jet anymore? And then Ryan said, there can only be one Jet, the one and only. And then Matt said, you say that, but... And then Ryan said, the title of the video was Political Messages in Kids Shows. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Then Godzilla said, his new character is very powerful. Mm. Then Ryan said, it doesn't imply all kids shows have such messages, or even all episodes of those shows have them either. Okay, you're right. My bad. I did mess that up. Then Godzilla said his character is the Lord of Memes. Let's see. So let me scoot this over. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ooh. So the thing I saw when I jumped on Amino was anime character girl. And I was like, is that what Godzilla's character is? And I look down and I'm like, oh, that's a Shuri-chan character. And then I look over at Frick Lord of Memes, and I'm like, oh, this is obviously the true Godzilla character. There's no doubt. His weaknesses, I don't know. Powers, he can do anything a meme can. He can do anything a meme can. Memes can be pretty powerful, believe it or not. I wrote a paper in college about memes and how powerful they can be and their effects that they can have on people. Um, there's a book that when people read it, they would for whatever reason be compelled to like commit suicide, and I included that in my paper that I wrote about the power of memes. Because the way that memes are defined, they're very open. It's not just a picture on the internet that you see that has like a caption on it. A meme can be many different things. And the idea of a meme, I think, was first talked about in Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene, which is like a book that compares ideas to genetics. Um, but your character, if they can do anything a meme can do, they seem pretty powerful. But I think what the weakness would be of your character would probably be that if a meme isn't very good, like if it's not good at spreading from person to person, and if people don't really vibe with it and continue to help it progress by evolving the meme over time, then it just kind of dies out. So if their power is described as anything a meme can do, that implies that your character can also just die out if people don't really care about it. So there you go. Let's see. Ryan, I already read that. Then Matt said, "Wait, politics?" He said, "Alarms start going off." Then Ryan said, "I watched a new Renegade Cut video about this PRC propaganda movie." Then Matt said, "Hello, Menace Day. How are you?" Oh, I see what you're doing there. It's a Jank Heroes reference for those who are unaware. Then Godzilla said, "It's like me and the boys, the Spider-Man meme thing." Then Ryan said, "Pictures on the internet with captions are image macros." Then Matt said, "It's the memes, Jack. They're the DNA of the soul." Then Kel said, "The description of the power is going to be more than 3 sentences because I'm still working out exactly how it works. Once I settle on how it should function, I'll simplify it. I might be able to help you simplify it as you describe it, because I feel like the easiest way to simplify any of these, since it's 3 sentences to go over powers, limitations, and weaknesses, the first sentence is a list of powers with commas. The second sentence is a list of limitations with commas. And the third sentence is a list of weaknesses with commas. And all of them can start with like, their powers are the following, list. Their limitations are the following, list. Their weaknesses are the following, list. And then that's a pretty easy way to summarize it. That's just what it ends up being for the most part. Then Matt said, "Don't let Jet simplify things. He will mess up the flow." I don't really think so. Then Matt said, "Also, Jet is advocating long lists. They don't have to be that long. Most characters aren't even really doing that much, Matt." Like, really think about it. Most characters who can do a shit ton of stuff, it can be easily simplified, whatever it is they're doing. Let's see. Then Godzilla said, "Wait, I have a counter character for Frick. A counter character for your guy? For your meme character that you came up with? Does your counter character make things irrelevant?" Because that'd be an easy way to kill a meme, to just make it like something that like nobody cares about. Excuse me. Matt said, "In very generic sentence structure." It's the easiest way to simplify it. It's not the only way to simplify it. Ryan said, Batman's D1CK." Godzilla said, "PewDiePie, killer of memes, is Frick's counter character." Whenever you say Fricks, it makes me think of Frisk from Undertale. Then Matt said, "I told you this was Menace Day." When did Menace Day fight PewDiePie? The killer memes. Manus Day, by the way, was a Genkiro's character made by our friend Gerard. And Manus Day's whole thing originally was that he could pull things from mythology into the real world, or that he had powers based off of mythology. I think was for the most part what he could do. But eventually he just had a power where he could do anything. The original Genkiros let you just kind of keep stacking powers. Let's see, and then Matt said Manus Day created power creep. He did in Genkiros, oddly enough. Then Matt said Meme Guy seems to be doing the same. You think he's creating power creep? Uh, well, for one, the Meme Guy is technically one sentence, and it's he can do anything a meme can, which kind of defines its limitations and weaknesses as well. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, if you just make that character irrelevant, then they die off. Kel said, describing his character, it creates a red arrow on the floor that acts as a path. The arrow can move in any direction, but the path can't be changed once you start moving. Did I miss any part? Because that seemed like it was a random part that didn't have anything attached to it. Then Godzilla corrected what Matt said to Meme Man, I believe, instead of Meme Guy. Then Godzilla said maybe. Then Godzilla said it can be as powerful as Shaggy, by the way. And then Matt said it's not done yet. I know that that's not all of what Kel said, but the way that it starts with like a lowercase it, like it's not capital IT, makes it just seem like it's part of a bigger thing that he was posting. Like it makes it seem like it's the middle. Maybe he's saying maybe it is the power. I don't know. But if it was a capital I would have felt more confident. I'm just curious to see if he posted something and YouTube was like, nope, and I just missed it or not. Then Matt said, that's the first part. It creates a red arrow on the floor that acts as a path. The arrow can move in any direction, but the path can't be changed once you start moving. The benefit of the arrow is that once you start moving on it, you automatically move at any speed you want, the maximum being Mach 1. So, it's super speed, but you have to determine the path that you move on beforehand, and you can't change it, and you have a limit of moving at Mach 1, but I guess you can move at any speed between not moving. Well, I guess you can't pick not moving. Can you pick not moving? I don't know. Also, can you modulate your speed at all? It says any speed you want. I guess not moving would count. But it's super speed, but you're stuck on a path that you can't change, and you can move at most at Mach 1. That's what it seems like so far. Then Matt said, Jet, nobody follows proper grammatical sentence structure. You can, though. Godzilla said, imagine if this is future Nick reading all of them from a script. That's kind of true, actually, that it's always going to be me after you guys sent it reading it from a live chat. Then Matt said, example, all of Godzilla's comments. That's true, but Kells normally capitalizes the beginning of things. He capitalized the beginning of the next part. Which is why I was like, it felt like it may not have been the beginning of what he said, but I guess it was. Let's see. Ryan posted a fairly political topic involving PewDiePie. Feel free to read that if you guys are interested. Kel said the arrow can also go through the air as long as there's some structure it can move on. For example, if there's rubble in the air, you can make the arrow on it. And he said it was the beginning. I just goofed. No problem. And then Godzilla said, shall I make everything capitalized? Have you guys ever noticed how comic book word bubbles work? Like the lettering? Also, Matt said, that doesn't make sense. And then Godzilla said, just like this? So, I think the arrow being on structures that are in the air, to me, doesn't make sense as well. It just sounds like it's not in the air then. It's just on a structure that's in the air. You know what I mean? It sounds like it's still hard. It has to be on a surface, is what you mean, if I'm understanding you correctly. Ryan then put up another political thing. Matt said you would need a string of rubble for that to work. It sounds like you just still need a surface. Like it just seems like your surface can be any elevation you want, but it doesn't seem like it makes sense for you to be like, yeah, it's technically it's like not really. It's just still following the other rules. Matt said it can't just be randomly on a single floating rock without any connections. Then Godzilla said, I am doing this for no reason. And then he said, Let's see. Do 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 do. Oh, so I was reading some messages that I got from Beth in my head, and also, I guess doing the beginning of a song. What was that song? I was just extending the beginning. Was it Barracuda? No, Barracuda doesn't start like that. Oh, it kind of does. Barracuda esque. Anyways, Kel said the last part is that as you create the arrow, the tip of the arrow can break things and damage people. But since it's usually on the floor, you have to get a bit creative to hit people with it. It's super speed, but you have to determine the path ahead of time. You can only move up to Mach 1, and the path you create also damages the environment and people that it crosses paths with along the way. That was one sentence. Then Ryan said, ba 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 Batman's dick. Ba 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 Beth. Then Matt said, the damaging people seems non-existent. So why do you think it's non-existent? Then Godzilla said, we should all make a story, all working together. And then Godzilla said, I think I said that before. And then Godzilla said, it will be a masterpiece. If we could get everyone down for it, sure. I'd be fine with that. I'm fine with that. Then Matt said, since unless it raises above the ground, it could never actually puncture anyone. Maybe it behaves as if it is above the ground without actually being above the ground. For example, if it just damages anything that's on the path, that's not the person running on the path, then the implication is if anything else crosses the path, then it'll be damaged. Also, is the path permanent? Like, how does this work? Like, let's say you made a path that takes you from your house to, like, Cookout. Because Cookout is a fantastic restaurant that serves a variety of different shakes. But let's say you make a path from your house to Cookout. Once you arrive at Cookout, does the arrow go away? Like, once you, like, make it to the end? Or does that bitch just stay there, and then everything between you and Cookout is just getting fucking wrecked? Like, anything that crosses that arrow is just being annihilated. Well, I mean, it's not like it gets Hakkai'd, but it gets damaged. You know what I mean? Let's see. Also, if it crosses the path that gets damaged, then it doesn't have to behave like anything. It could just kind of be like a magic aura kind of thing. Like anything that crosses past this line just kind of gets dicked in some way. And if the damage is vague, then you could kind of make the damage whatever you want. It could be like things colliding with the line as if it was a physical object. It could be things getting cut by crossing the path. It could be things getting burned even. There are a lot of different things you could do with that. Let's see. And then Kel said, yeah, it has to have a surface. So as long as there's a surface, it can work. That makes sense. Matt said it could break through. It could break walls though, since walls could be made into the ground. I don't think it has to be treated as if it is above the ground, as I explained a moment ago. Then Matt said also, so only the tip of the arrow does the damage? Right. Oh, you're right, Matt. So that makes sense because it deals damage when the path is created, it sounds like. Now that I think about it. It's super speed, but you set the path ahead of time, and when the path is being set, everything in the path is damaged. And then once. Oh, no, no, no. You don't really have to say once about anything. Everything in the path is damaged, and then you can at most move at Mach 1. So that's where I'm getting at so far. And then Kel said, as the person gets stronger, it can make you go faster. Okay, so hold on. It's super speed, but you have to set the path ahead of time, and when the path is set, it damages anything that is on the path, and you can move. And how fast you move is dependent on how strong you are, or how fast you can move is dependent on how strong you are. That still could be one sentence, but because I was thinking through it, it sounded kind of weird. But I still think that's one sentence. Let's see. Then Ryan said, Jet, when can we hang out? I'm normally free to hang out with friends on Sundays and Fridays. On Fridays, I normally hang out with Beth at Station Retro, but it's a friend hangout thing where anybody can kind of just come by to Station Retro and we can all hang out. And then on Sundays, I normally head over to Colin's, but Colin now does D&D on Sundays. So Colin's like, hey, you're free to come by like before D&D, but I understand what he means because I honestly wouldn't really want to chill for D&D for like multiple hours where I'm not really interacting with anybody. I'm like, I can just kind of write at home. So Sundays, it sounds like I'll have more time to hang out with different friend groups if I only hang out with Colin like at the beginning of a Sunday. And some Sundays I hang out with family. So sometimes I'm not free on Sundays. But Fridays at Station Retro is pretty consistent. Pretty consistently available. Let's see. Matt said, and it seems only the person who makes the arrow can use it. Well, that's how super speed normally is. Like, only the person who is the speedster is fast. Then Ryan said, let us schedule a meeting. Ryan, would you be free at 6:45 p.m. this Friday at Station Retro? Then Godzilla said, Jet, what if you were a superhero? What would you do? There was a time where I used to patrol my neighborhood and report crime. So that's what I would do. And now on Fiverr, I cast magic spells for money. Sometimes people are like, hey, I got this curse this on me, or I've been jinxed, or I need to like purify this location. And I like cast spells to try to help them. So I guess that. And I work in cybersecurity. I don't know. To me, superhero is kind of vague. So I guess I'm still kind of doing it. Just cybersecurity. I'm doing cyber stuff now. Kel said the path usually goes away immediately, but you can use more energy to make it last longer. Then Sergeant Sato said, hi, would you be interested in meeting for gay anal sex? I'm in the UK, but can travel. X. No. Thanks for asking. Then Matt said, this seems like a weird power for no good reason, since it's specified super speed and a projectile that does some damage, and that's it. And then Matt said, Jet, you could just play D&D. I prefer role-playing games where you play for like an hour, and it's a one-shot. And also single player. I like the back and forth that's held between a player and a dungeon master. Um, and it's not that having multiple people makes it like unbearable, but I do think it's not as fun for me. I prefer to either be the game master in those scenarios or to be the player. Either one is fine, but I prefer a one player, one shot, 1 hour kind of thing for RPGs. And then Matt said, and stop hating long form stories. There's nothing wrong with short stories, Matt. If you want something that's feels long form, I guess, check out Volume 5 of Superpower Battles. Follows one character and has an overarching story told through multiple short stories, which is pretty much what a lot of stories are. You can take a lot of stories that are long form and break them up into shorter stories if you want. Anyways, Ryan said, I suppose I will have to wait until the car is available. Um, if I had more free time, I'd have more flexible hangouts. Let's see. And then Kel said another idea I had is that the properties of the arrow can somewhat be changed as the user gets stronger. For example, at a certain point, the person using it can make it three-dimensional. What does it mean for it to be three-dimensional? Um, I kind of prefer vague damage than it being like it's specifically tied to the arrow hitting something with its point. Because vague damage just sounds like you could do a lot with it and it not necessarily be broken. Then Godzilla said, why do you not like Jet? Do you have a grudge against him? Then Matt said, yeah, I get called a hater for having reasonable opinions. I'm. We do call Matt a hater. And there's nothing wrong with having opinions. That's totally fine. And even if someone doesn't agree with your opinions, there is no such thing as like a bad opinion. You know, opinions are subjective. Whether or not they're good or bad varies between person to person, but people can still disagree about opinions. It's whatever. The reason why you get called a hater, Matt, is just because you complain very often, like all the time. It's a lot of what you do on the vlogs. It's just true. I don't know. Uh, do you feel like you are undeservedly called a hater? Do you feel like I am called it, but in truth, I am not a hater, for I do not consistently just hate on Jet for like an hour at a time, like on a daily basis. Then Ryan said, "What are your highest concerns in regards to cybersecurity?" Interesting. That actually is like a work-based question. Not bad, not bad. So right now, I feel like the industry is going really strong. Um, I guess my question is, could you narrow your question down to be more specific? To me, it's very open, and I'm like, there are many different ways I could look at your question, but if you narrowed it down, I feel like it would be easier to answer. And Godzilla said, but why though? And then Matt said, team dynamics in a game is enjoyable, especially since the group isn't even that big currently. There's nothing specifically wrong with short stories. There's something wrong with hating longer stories. But I don't hate longer stories. I just prefer to write shorter stories. And I do agree that team dynamics in a game can be enjoyable. I just personally prefer one shots, single player, tabletop role playing games. Um, and it's not like I haven't done the team dynamic thing before. It's not like I'm like, I dislike it and I've never done it before. It's like most of my experience with tabletop role playing games is multiplayer, multi-houred sessions that are done over many weeks at a time. And it's like, I just don't really like that. I prefer you go in and it's like, we're going to play for 1 hour. What happens in this session stays in this session. You can use your character again if you want to, if we decide to do another one. But this story is a self-contained story, and your character is in a world. You do what you want. Maybe stuff will happen. Really depends on your choices. If you just kind of sit down and don't do anything, maybe stuff will happen around you. I don't know. And we just go and we just do it. And that's normally what I vibe with. That's what I look for. Kel said, I'll keep it at vague damage for now. I'll make my final decision in the power once I make the amino post on the character with the power. Speaking of which, what's the character like? You've mentioned their powers, but like, what is their personality? What sport do they play? What does your character look like? I'm just curious because I think it would be cool to learn more about your character and their motivations and goals. Matt said, if I don't complain, then everyone just goes with the punches without actually thinking about the problems. Matt said, I'm doing a service. Um, I mean, if you feel like they're problems, it's up to you. Uh, Godzilla said, guys, this is like a Shane Dawson conspiracy theory. What's a Shane Dawson conspiracy theory? Then Matt said, you say so many things that have actual problems, so nobody complaining is also problematic. What are the things that I say that you feel like have actual problems? Then time to say a name. I feel like I feel like there's a shorter name and that you've been on the vlog before, and that there's like a nickname. Solwea. Solwea says hello. Yo, Solwea. Welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. I'm horrible at names, but that name seems familiar. I feel like there's a shorter name, but I'm not aware of what the shorter name was. Matt said, also, Jet, your obsession for short stories bleeds into your perception for other things, such as games. So you feel like because I prefer to write short stories, that I also prefer to play short stories. It's not that I can't get invested in and enjoy long running stories. I read manga and comic books, which are both long running mediums. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand where you're coming from. I watch MCU movies, which have been going for many years now and are all in the same continuity. It's not that I can't enjoy long running things, it's just I prefer to write shorter things and I prefer to play shorter things. That doesn't mean I only love shorter things. Let's see. Godzilla said, I like games. Have any of you played City of Heroes? It's probably my favorite MMORPG. I personally have never played City of Heroes. My dad has. I have played DC Universe Online, though, and I'd be interested in hearing your opinion on DC Universe Online, since it's also a superhero video game. By the way, I want to do this as its own video, but since we brought up games, I guess I'll just do it now. Uh, it's weird how it turns out like that, but we're going to do that, so let's go. Let me pull it up. I wrote this down. I was gonna do a big video on this. I still can as I add more information to it. But here are my favorite games by console. So I'm gonna talk about my favorite game for different consoles that I've owned. So I'm gonna mention my favorite game for the Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, Xbox, GameCube, Game Boy Advance SP, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Fable 3, Xbox 360, PS3, and PS4. So here we go. Here are my favorite games by console. Already spoiled one. Uh, my favorite game for the Sega Genesis is air hockey. It's just a simple air hockey game that you can play with your friends. It's air hockey, but it's nice. It's a very fun, casual game that you can play while just having a conversation. Really like it. My favorite game for the Dreamcast is Jet Set Radio. Jet Set Radio is a fun, it's weird to say action adventure game, but it kind of has that vibe. I really like exploring the different environments in Jet Set Radio, grinding on rails, picking up speed and momentum, and running away from advancing threats that continue to escalate. Jet Set Radio is a fun game. I like it. My favorite game for the original Xbox is Psychonauts. Psychonauts is also an action adventure game. Again, I like exploring all the different environments as a character. I really like how you have to solve problems and defeat enemies by carefully using different abilities that you gain as you continue playing the game. I also am a big fan of Psychonauts' story. Also, I forgot to mention the music for Jet Set Radio is a big plus for me as well. But whatever. Moving on, my favorite game for the GameCube, Naruto Clash of Ninja 2. Naruto Clash of Ninja 2 is a really fun fighting game. I literally unlocked everything in the game. I unlocked everything that I could get in the game. Whenever I go to the store for Naruto Clash of Ninja 2, they always say, come back, more will come in stock. Nothing ever comes back in stock. It has a good amount of replay value, to be honest. There are a lot of game modes. You can do stuff like 4-person battles where you face off against 3 different computers and you all have a battle royale, more or less. You can also do like teamed 4-person battle where it's like you and a friend or you and the CPU versus 2 other CPUs and you guys fight against each other. There's an endless battle mode where you fight this one guy who continually creates clones of himself whenever you beat him. So you beat the first one, and then now there are 2. So now you got to fight 2 of them, and then there are 3 and 4, and it escalates until you lose. And I really like that. Naruto Clash of Ninja 2 is a really good game. Really fuck with it. Bah. Okay, next up, my favorite game for the Game Boy Advance SP, Danny Phantom, The Ultimate Enemy. Danny Phantom, The Ultimate Enemy is a side-scrolling space shooter kind of game, but it's not a space shooter. You're Danny Phantom, and you're shooting ghosts with your plasma beams. This is a weird one for sure. But that Danny Phantom game is probably the most played Game Boy Advance SP game that I played. It's really nice. I play it very casually, and I can like sit down and just play through that whole game, and then just put it down and be satisfied. And I've revisited it multiple times. I just like it. Um, when I grew up, there weren't a lot of games that I beat, and whenever I beat a game, it was because I was interested in the game enough to continue playing through it. So yeah, Danny Phantom, the ultimate enemy. I really vibe with it. Favorite game for the PlayStation 2? Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Mortal Kombat Armageddon was cool because it had multiple game modes beside just the fighting game part of it. There was also Mortal Kombat Chess and a Mortal Kombat Go Kart Racer on it. But I used to play that a lot on my own, and when I had my friend Ethan come over, we used to play that a lot. Um, so yeah, that's the second fighting game on the list, and the last fighting game on the list, believe it or not. But I am a fan of Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Honorable mention to Mortal Kombat Deception. I did play that, but that did not make the list. That's not one of my favorite games on a console. Didn't make it. My favorite game for the PlayStation Portable would have to be Invisimals. Invisimals is essentially knockoff Pokemon for Sony. What I liked about Invisimals is that it was like an augmented reality game where you travel around your normal environment and you try to find these creatures. And you'll see the creatures in like your world because it's augmented reality, and you have to try and catch them. One thing that I really liked about the game is that Pokemon has this setup where you find a creature, you fight it, you beat it in the fight, you catch the creature. The way Invisimals worked is it's not that you have to fight it. Each creature has its own special capture mechanism that is relevant to that creature and takes advantage of the augmented reality. So sometimes you'd have to physically reach in front of the camera and interact with the creatures in order to catch them. And sometimes you'd have to use your screen as like a barrier and shit. I really liked it. I really fuck with Invisibles. It's a good game. Anyways, moving past Invisimals, my favorite game for the Xbox 360, Fable 3. Fable 3. So, a big thing that I like about Fable 3 is that you can just kind of live a life in Fable 3. And I actually really appreciate that. I would like a spiritual successor to Fable 3 in any shape or form that just legitimately did the social part of Fable 3. I think that's what I like the most. That and you could work a job. So in Fable 3, you could work jobs as a mini game to earn money that you could then use to buy property or to like customize like your character. And then every NPC in Fable 3 that you talked to had an opinion of you, and you could communicate with NPCs to make them like you, and you could make them dislike you. And there's a big spectrum between NPCs literally loving you and like showering you with gifts to NPCs that are like indifferent about you to NPCs that really don't like you to the point where they give you stuff to leave them alone. You can walk into town and you could literally have everyone in that town love you because you talk to all of them and you help them with different tasks around the house. I mean, not around the house, around like the town. But then there's one guy that you like shat talked like the whole time you played, and every time you walk in the town, he tries to murder you. He's like the only guy. Like you, there are interesting interactions that you can do with Fable 3 NPCs that I really like. If, for example, multiple NPCs have a crush on you, and they like see you with one NPC that you in particular seem to be favoring, those two NPCs might have a talk later. You know what I mean? You can get married in Fable 3, you can have kids in Fable 3, you can go on dates in Fable 3. Fable 3 doesn't care about like gender. If you wanted to like go on a date with a dude or something, or with a girl, depending on your character that you made, you can do that. Um, Really cool game. I really like the freedom of everything. And you still have magic powers, and you can go fight stuff if you want. But the late game is mainly just going to be you living in that world and exploring and interacting with the NPCs. And because NPC relationships are variable, at one moment an NPC could love you, But if you fuck around too much, they could start to dislike you, and you gotta manage the relationship. Mm, that's just a lot of replayability right there. I'm sorry. The way that people perceive your character on the first playthrough, or even as you continue playing just one playthrough, can continually change. And if you invest yourself in your relationships with these different characters in these different towns, you can just keep on playing that game. I love it. Let's see. So where we at though? Next game. So next game console, PS3. My favorite game for the PS3, Batman Arkham City. I mean, what else did you guys think I was gonna say? Batman Arkham City is my favorite superhero video game. Period. That Mr. Freeze boss fight though was really solid. Uh, but I've played Batman Arkham City over and over and over again. I've played it many times. Love that game. Um, it just does such a good job. And all future superhero video games, I'm going to hold to that same standard. I don't really vibe with Spider Man PS4 that hard. Because to me, it just isn't on the same level as Batman Arkham City. And I know people aren't going to be a fan of that, but I don't know. I love it. Don't worry, guys. There's only one more console left on the list. My favorite game for the PS4, Lego Worlds. Dare I say more? If you guys want to know how much I love Lego Worlds, feel free to check out those Lego World streams. But yeah, I'm going to get back to the live chat. Let me scroll up. Okay, so where we at though? Let's see. So then Matt said, but the obsession leads to only short writings and short sessions for RPG sessions. I don't think I'm obsessed with short stories. I prefer writing short stories, and I prefer playing shorter RPG sessions for similar reasons, but it's not that one causes me to want to do the thing for the other. It's not because I like writing short stories that I want to play shorter RPG sessions. I like self contained stories that are complete stories, and that's pretty much it. I feel like a lot of times when you have long running RPG sessions or long running stories, you can sometimes just read an issue of a comic where you're like, nothing really happened. You know what I mean? This issue existed in order to maybe try to build suspense or to elaborate on a concept that could, in theory, potentially be really cool. But I feel like you can do that and still have some conclusion. And I don't mean a conclusion to like the whole story, but just like each piece I feel like should feel like a complete story. And the same thing happens with RPG sessions. You can have an RPG session that's a part of a long running series of sessions where you end one and you're like, we really didn't do anything. You know, it's you put so much time into consuming it only to be like, oh, that was it for that part? Oh, that's kind of ass. You know, I would have preferred some level of finality. Um, just some kind of satisfying conclusion to each part to motivate me to keep going through it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's my mindset on that kind of thing. Ryan said, Jet, your obsession for shorter things is problematic because your dick is too big. Then Godzilla said, idea for game, chicken. You create life. Let's see, like you make a chicken monster or a snake elephant. A snake elephant? What does that have to do with chickens? Then Matt said, also 1 hour RPG session for random game means that you really can't do that much in the grand scheme of things. You could potentially have a complete story in an hour. One of my favorite RPG sessions that I think I've done um, was an RPG session that I did with Bo and a guy from Writer's Block. I'm horrible at names, sorry, guy from Writer's Block. But we did a session of Jank Heroes that was those guys. But it was kind of like modified Jank Heroes. It wasn't exactly the same. But it was designed specifically to be like a one shot. Like you're supposed to tell a complete story within like a 1 hour time span, and they did, and it was really cool. Jankiro's One Shot, by the way, is a published book. Feel free to pick that shit up. It's on Amazon. It's probably the best RPG I've made. I like the concept of making it designed for you to play one session and then tell a complete story. Okay, where we at though? Godzilla said, oh, I already read that. Matt said deeper systems have to be left by the wayside, and although you could do role playing in an hour, unless there is very explicitly bare bones to no combat, it can't really work. I don't think that's true either. Combat doesn't have to be long. It is long in D&D, but it doesn't have to be long. Real life combat isn't even long. Have you ever watched two people fight? It's just not, it's not a thing that takes forever. It really doesn't. Um, I feel like you could easily have a battle system that is based off of people describing strategies and trying to overcome other people's strategies. And you could do it as in like your enemy is going to do this. How are you going to counter that? Okay, what helps determine the success of your counter? Oh, cool. Okay, based off of that, let's see if you countered it or not. And then based off of how many successful counters you're able to do will determine like the turn of the fight. You could be like, if you counter your opponent 3 times, the third counter also just beats them. Counter meaning you somehow avoid taking too much damage to where your character would be like knocked out of the fight, but you also deliver an attack of your own. So you would give a strategy on how, okay, so I was able to get around what they did and hurt them somehow. And then once you rack up so many counters, it's like you beat them. Because you're able to counter each and every one of their strategies and make it where the character's strategies try to adapt to what the player tries to do. I feel like that would actually be pretty fun, and it would be very like logic and discussion based, but it could still have a rule system built around it, because you can have rules for how the powers work and have it where characters describe how they use their powers based on those rules to counter the strategies, and the strategies presented could also be given in that way. I feel like that'd be pretty dope. I could make that. But I haven't really been writing RPGs recently. Let's see. Godzilla said you could maybe play that game, the Chicken Monster game. Then Matt said it just gets boring. Do you mean short sessions? To me, I think it would be hard for a short RPG session to get boring. Like if it's only an hour, what? Like how did you get bored in an hour? It just sounds like it must have been uninteresting from the jump for it to be like, wow, I just got bored. Uh, so I don't really see that. Then Matt said, Jet, did you really put Clash of Ninja 2 over Melee? I didn't own Melee. Sunshine, didn't own Sunshine. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, didn't own Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. And Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, so I didn't own Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. You just named a ton of GameCube games that I didn't own or play. Because I didn't play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I played Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast. And then my favorite Dreamcast game is still Jet Set Radio, though. So Sonic Adventure just doesn't make the list in any shape or form. Actually, there's not a single Sonic game on my list, now that I notice. Ryan said Clash of Ninja Revolution is cool. I enjoy when we play Naruto games together, Ryan. I wouldn't mind actually streaming more Naruto games now that I think about it. Kel said the character is on the same team as the main character and plays the Battle Royale sport, and he feels lost in life, so he doesn't really know what he wants. That's interesting. Godzilla said Danny Phantom is a threat if he's the ultimate enemy. Is Danny Phantom, the ultimate enemy. It's about when they fight Overgrowth, which is like this plant-themed villain. They had a whole TV event about him fighting Overgrowth, and he mind controls Sam. This is a whole thing. Kel said he only joined the sport because his brother did it and became one of the top athletes in that sport. So he's just kind of following his brother's footsteps because he doesn't really know what he wants to do. Then Matt said, did you really put a Danny Phantom game over literally everything else in the Game Boy Advance library? You gotta keep in mind, I only owned so many games. Also, the only other game that was in the running for favorite Game Boy Advance game was X-Men Mutant Academy, which is a fighting game for the Game Boy Advance. that I also like to play very casually, but I feel like it doesn't require a lot of strategy to play. Where I do feel like Danny Phantom Ultimate Enemy, what I like is certain enemies are more. There are certain moves that are more effective against certain enemies, and you have to strategize about when to use those moves against those enemies, and you got to be fast about it. And I like that about Danny Phantom, the Ultimate Enemy. Whereas X-Men Mutant Academy, I can just be Wolverine. I don't really have to change up my strategy too much because the AI for X-Men Mutant Academy isn't that smart. But it's another game that I like to casually play on the go. So yeah, honorable mention. Where are we at? Matt said, Battle Royale is very vague since Tetris 99 is a Battle Royale. Then Kel said he starts off as he doesn't really care about anything and always has AirPods on or something. The main character is able to break through his shell and they bond over not knowing what they want to do in life. So neither of them know what they want to do in life? Then Matt said also a 1 hour session means that there is significantly no reason to care about the end goals of your characters, especially since role playing games don't really have traditional winning in it. You can have a goal that you want your character to achieve, and the session can be about your character trying to achieve that goal, which is how you would do that. Let's see. And then Godzilla said, "Oh, I'm making a little game where you're a dragon. Ooh, feel free to tell us more about your game. And what are you making it in?" Then Matt said, "And if a character effectively goes into the garbage after the hour session, then why bother? Also, even if you can reuse these characters, the problem is that they are very hard to naturally end a session, which has a cutoff at a single hour, leading to annoying scenarios that don't feel fulfilling. There's a way for you to pace the time. I feel like a lot of people are used to a very traditional role playing game structure, but I've seen this done well, where a game master does things like time skips or sets the scene change. And I feel like that's a very easy way to do stuff like this. So you have the character start off in a scenario, you see how the character plays through that scenario, and then you do a scene shift to try and progress the character based off of whatever they did last time. Like, however they reacted to the last scenario will affect what the next scenario is like. And you move them from scenario to scenario at a pretty good pace, um, to where you get to the final scenario that will really determine whether or not they achieve their goal or not, and the consequences of them achieving their goal. Let's see. Then Matt said a session which has a cutoff at a single hour, leading to annoying scenarios that don't actually feel fulfilling. I don't really think that's true. I just explained why. Gazo said, okay. Kel said after he gets Talk no Jutsu'd, he becomes one of the main character's main squad. He's very excitable and likes to be very flashy. He usually thinks of the enemy as better than him, so he becomes determined to defeat them and raise his self-worth. Interesting. So he's trying to find himself, but he is also trying to build himself up, even though he doesn't really know what he wants to be. Godzilla said, I thought he was done talking about video games. He's just going to do that until the stream ends? And he's like, finally, once I ended. Then Kel said, to raise. Then Matt said, but if everyone is better than him and he has low self-worth, then shouldn't he just be depressed? Jet, sometimes you need the time for topics to breathe. Stop trying to condense everything to its core elements. There's nothing wrong with short stories. Then Kel said, well, Matt, he progressively gets less depressed because he thinks of it as, I'm literally garbage compared to this guy, but if I can beat him, then I'll be a little less garbage. Then Matt said, finality is not supposed to exist in an ongoing story. That's contradictory. I don't think that's true. You can have small moments of finality. You can have conclusions to miniature stories that together build a greater arc. And it's done in storytelling literally all the time. Matt said, Jet, you better read everything. This stuff matters. I have like 6 minutes. I'll try. Godzilla said, chess, but it's a role-playing game. I feel like that's real. I think that exists. Then Matt said, also, this counter system makes things very anticlimactic. I don't think that's true. Why do you feel like it's anticlimactic? Matt said, also, it would be more fun to just enact those strategies in the game and let the systems of the game do their jobs. Having a discussion on the strategy doesn't fully translate into making the game. I feel like having the discussions on the strategy show like this is what your enemy is planning to do. This is what you're planning to do. Now let's like do the rolls and figure out what actually happens. This is very similar to the setup that's used in my game Imagination Quest, which is heavily inspired off of Eric's Luft, which uses a similar system as well. And I like it. I like the idea of it being like, you want to do this and they want to do this, but what actually happens? Because I feel like that makes more sense, to be honest. Shuri Chan said, I'm back in school with like crying emojis. I hope that you have a wonderful semester. Matt said, I shouldn't have to look at the time to have an enjoyable RPG session, but looking at the time doesn't ruin an RPG session. Shuri Chan said, I made a new OC. I saw that you made a new OC. We haven't had a chance to read over it yet, but maybe we will get that opportunity. Kel said, technically, they do have a goal. Their goal is to find what they want to do. I might make it a joke at the end that the main character ends up working at GameStop or something. Hey, I mean, that's doing something. Matt said also the discussion of strategy also means that you know what is in the enemy's head, but knowing is only half the battle. Let's see. Godzilla said, personally, I feel like Matt is like a hamburger bun. It is just in the way of the juicy patty with all the actual things I want to learn about, like Kells and Shuri. I've never thought of the bun as being in the way of the burger. If only I could get past this bread. Let's see, guys. Oh, I already read that. Unboxing review said, "Hey, what's up, dude? Yo, unboxing review. Welcome to the streams. Good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your point? That. And do you have any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it." Godzilla said, "What they say?" Then Matt said, "Jet spends more time talking than I do." Then Shuri-chan said, Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue isn't canon. Mind blowing. Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue is canon. Then Matt said, no comma. Shuri-chan said, because it's not in the manga. The manga and the anime are different canons, Shuri-chan. Ryan said, kiwi fruit skin is edible. Try eating it. Fun fact, when I used to eat kiwis as a kid, I just ate the whole kiwi, my boy. I didn't care about the skin at all. It's not bad. People used to think it was gross at school. I'm like, why? It's fruit. That being said, though, I do not like the skins of like a banana or something. You know, we've all been kids. I've been there, tried that. That is not enjoyable. Orange peels, maybe to like suck on. I don't think you would ever want to chew up and swallow an orange peel. It's really weird. But I'm sure there are people who do it and enjoy it, and that's fine. It's all subjective. Then Godzilla said, read. Also, my OC is really good. Y'all should read it. It's a meme creature. Then Matt said, we won't, though. We are running out of time. Kel said, think of the manga and anime as different things. Well, he said, I think of the manga and anime as different things. I do, too. I'm currently 2 chapters behind on the Dragon Ball Super manga. I've been doing a lot more comic reading than manga reading. That probably means I'm also 2 chapters behind on Boruto, so I need to read both. Godzilla said, it's maybe from hell and maybe not, his original character. Then Shuri-chan said, Akira Toriyama is lazy. Well, right now Akira Toriyama is just writing outlines. He's not actually writing the stuff. I think he wrote the Broly movie, but I think for the anime and the manga, well, it's not that I think, he just straight up has said, he's writing outlines. He's not actually writing those things. Let's see. Matt said fruit is terrible, therefore kiwi is terrible. That's an opinion, and that's totally fine if you feel that way. Then Ryan said the kiwi skin is hairy as fuck. It is hairy, but it's not bad. Then Matt said, yes. Are you shocked, Shuri? Then Kel said both the manga and anime follow the same points, but in different ways. Yeah, because they're following the same Akira Toriyama outline. Shuri-chan said, I'm just confused. Okay, so Akira Toriyama gives an outline of what he wants for the anime and the manga to the anime staff and to Toyotaro. Toyotaro writes the manga, the anime staff makes the anime. They both are using the same outline, so they follow the same story beats, but they're able to fill in whatever they want in between those story beats. For example, Super Saiyan Ikari Trunks, I think, is not in the manga. Fun facts. And that's a Snappletop fact. Let's see, where we at, though? Matt said, I'm not. He's been lazy since the beginning. Shuri-chan said, thank God, Broly is canon now. That is true. Ryan said, canon is a lame term. Interesting. Why do you feel that way? Matt said, too bad Jet hates Broly. I don't hate Broly, just not a big fan of Broly. More of a kale person. Shuri-chan said, Nani? Then Matt said, even though it's just good and everyone fights Jet on it. Oh, you're talking about the movie? I'm not a big fan of the movie. Anyways, we had 9 p.m. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding, ding, ding. Ring that notification bell. You're notified whenever we do these live streams. George, your boy, Jump Like the One Only. Logging out. Peace.